I bet 99% of people have said something that made others dislike them, just because they didn't know how to say it right. But if you watch this video until the end, I guarantee you'll learn how to speak so people respect you, like you, and actually want to listen. Let's begin. The art of speaking that makes others feel respected is not about mastering eloquent words or having the perfect tone. It begins with a mindset, one that values understanding over dominance, empathy over ego. When people talk to you, what they truly seek is not brilliance, but connection. And that connection starts the moment they feel heard, valued, and safe in your presence. Imagine a conversation where you don't rush to respond, but instead listen with genuine curiosity. You nod slightly, your eyes attentive, your posture relaxed. This silent acknowledgement tells the other person, you matter. In a world where everyone wants to be understood, giving someone your full attention is one of the deepest forms of respect. Active listening is not passive. It's an act of generosity. It requires focus, patience, and humility, the willingness to put your thoughts aside to truly hear another human being. Language also plays a vital role. The tone, the pace, and the choice of words all carry emotional weight. Gentle yet firm language can transform even difficult conversations into constructive ones. Phrases like, "I see your point," or "that's an interesting way to look at it," create openness rather than defensiveness. They tell the other person that you're not here to win an argument but to share an understanding. When you make people feel validated, even when you disagree, they'll naturally respect you more. One of the biggest traps in communication is the desire to prove that we're right. The ego whispers, "Convince them, correct them." But wisdom speaks differently. Seek to understand. The moment you shift from debating to discovering, everything changes. Conversations become smoother, energy flows freely, and even disagreements turn into mutual learning. The golden rule of communication, don't try to be right, try to understand, is simple but profound. It dissolves tension and invites cooperation. Respectful speaking also involves being aware of emotional timing. Sometimes the best thing to say is nothing at all. Silence, when used with intention, can be powerful. It gives others space to think, breathe, and feel heard. You don't need to fill every pause with words. Sometimes, your presence speaks louder than anything else. Another element of speaking respectfully is empathy, the ability to sense what the other person is feeling and adjust your words accordingly. If someone is upset, soften your tone. If they're anxious, slow your speech. Your adaptability shows emotional intelligence, which in turn earns deep respect. People may forget what you said, but they will always remember how you made them feel. Lastly, speak with sincerity. Don't use rehearsed politeness or mechanical compliments. Speak from your heart. When your words come from genuine care, people can feel it. Authenticity resonates in ways that perfect phrasing never can. A simple, "I appreciate you sharing that," can mean more than a long, elaborate speech. The art of speaking that makes others feel respected is, at its core, the art of kindness expressed through words. When you speak with empathy, listen with intent, and act without ego, your conversations become more than exchanges. They become bridges. And in a world full of noise and misunderstanding, being someone who makes others feel truly heard is one of the greatest gifts you can offer. How to speak so people enjoy being around you is not a matter of luck or natural charm. It's a learned skill, built on self-awareness and emotional intelligence. The truth is, people don't remember every word you say, but they always remember how you make them feel. When your presence feels light, warm, and understanding, people will naturally be drawn to you. The way you speak can either drain or energize those around you, and the secret lies in the energy you bring to every conversation. It all begins with your tone. A friendly, calm, and confident tone sets the emotional temperature of any interaction. When you speak gently but with intention, people feel at ease. Your voice becomes a reflection of your inner peace. It tells others that you're approachable and grounded. Combine that with a sincere smile and open eye contact, and you create an invisible bridge of trust. Body language speaks before words ever do. So let your posture, gestures, and facial expressions carry the same warmth as your speech. Another key factor is the emotional quality of your stories and comments. Positive people are magnetic because they focus on possibilities, not problems. When you share uplifting stories, small wins, or lessons learned from difficult times, you subtly remind others that life is still good, that there's hope, humor, and lightness even in struggle. Avoid turning conversations into complaint marathons. People already have enough stress. They seek relief and inspiration when they talk to others. You don't need to fake positivity. Just choose to highlight the constructive side of things. Genuine compliments are another powerful tool. Everyone likes to be seen and appreciated. But the difference between flattery and authenticity is intention. A fake compliment feels manipulative, but a real one, even a simple, "You handled that really well," can lift someone's spirit for the whole day. The key is to notice details others overlook: effort, kindness, creativity. When you acknowledge those, you speak directly to the heart. People remember that you noticed something good about them when others didn't. Equally important is creating a space of emotional safety. This means being the kind of person others can open up to without fear of being judged or corrected. You don't have to fix people's problems. Sometimes all they need is someone to listen. When someone confides in you, resist the urge to interrupt or give quick advice. Instead, say, "That sounds really tough. How are you feeling about it?" This shows care, not control. It gives them permission to be human, to make people enjoy being around you. Be curious, not just polite. Ask meaningful questions about their interests, values, or dreams. Listen with genuine interest instead of waiting for your turn to talk. Curiosity is one of the highest forms of respect because it says, "You matter enough for me to want to understand you." And when people feel understood, they naturally enjoy your company. Lastly, never underestimate the power of humor. Gentle, inclusive humor that makes people smile without putting anyone down. A little laughter can melt tension, bridge differences, and make even serious conversations lighter. Humor reminds people that you're not just intelligent, but also human and approachable. When you combine kindness, positivity, curiosity, and sincerity in the way you speak, your presence becomes a source of comfort and joy. People won't just like talking to you, they'll seek you out because you make them feel better about themselves and about life. That is the real secret of being someone others love to be around. Certain phrases have the power to melt walls, bridge differences, and instantly make you more likable. They work not because they are magical words, but because they carry emotional intelligence. The ability to make people feel seen and understood. When you speak in ways that validate others' feelings and perspectives, you communicate one essential message: I care. And that message, more than anything, makes people trust and appreciate you. One of the simplest yet most powerful things you can say is, "I understand how you feel." This phrase shows empathy without judgment. It tells the listener that you're not minimizing their emotions or trying to fix them. You're simply acknowledging their experience. It's human nature to want to feel understood. When you give that gift, even briefly, it disarms defensiveness and builds connection. Of course, empathy must be sincere. If you don't truly understand, it's better to say, "Help me understand what that's like for you." The willingness to understand can be just as healing as understanding itself. Another phrase that builds instant rapport is, "If I were you, I'd probably think the same way." This sentence works wonders in moments of disagreement. It shows that you're capable of seeing from another person's perspective, even if you don't share it. You're not surrendering your opinion. You're showing respect for theirs. This is what mature communication looks like: the ability to hold space for differing views without creating hostility. People admire those who can disagree gracefully. Then there's "thank you for sharing that." Simple, but profound. When someone opens up, whether it's an idea, a story, or even a complaint, this phrase acknowledges their vulnerability. It's not easy to share thoughts or emotions, especially in a world where people often feel ignored. By thanking someone for sharing, you subtly tell them that their words matter. It's appreciation, not for what they said, but for their willingness to engage. That kind of validation turns ordinary conversations into moments of trust. You can also use bridge phrases that soften communication and make others feel safe, such as, "That's an interesting point," or "I see where you're coming from." These small verbal gestures show open-mindedness. They don't commit you to agreement, but they create a respectful tone. And when people feel respected, they open up more, turning every exchange into a two-way flow instead of a battle of opinions. On the other hand, you can strengthen your likability by avoiding words that close off connection, words that sound dismissive, judgmental, or self-centered. Instead of saying, "You're wrong," say, "That's one way to look at it." Instead of "You should," say, "Have you considered?" These subtle shifts in phrasing can transform the emotional outcome of any discussion. The goal is not to manipulate, but to communicate with awareness, to choose words that invite rather than push away. Finally, one of the most likable things you can say isn't a phrase at all. It's a question. How do you see it? Or what do you think? When you invite others to share their thoughts, you show humility and respect. You're signaling that the conversation isn't about your ego, but about mutual exchange. That humility is magnetic. People don't bond over perfection. They bond over feeling valued. When you use phrases that show empathy, gratitude, and curiosity, you become the kind of person others remember with warmth. In the end, good communication isn't about saying more. It's about saying what matters most, in a way that makes others feel truly heard. One of the main reasons people end up being disliked, even unintentionally, lies not in what they mean to say, but in how they say it. The way we communicate often carries invisible signals: arrogance, indifference, or self-centeredness. These signals push people away long before they consciously realize why. To become someone others genuinely enjoy being around, it's crucial to recognize and avoid the subtle speaking habits that make others feel dismissed, disrespected, or drained. The first major mistake is interrupting. Cutting someone off in mid-sentence, even if you're excited or think you understand what they're about to say, sends a clear message. What I have to say is more important than what you're saying. Most of the time, people don't interrupt to be rude, they do it out of impatience or enthusiasm. But to the listener, it feels like invalidation. When you interrupt, you rob someone of their voice. A simple rule can change everything. Wait a full second after they stop speaking before you respond. That brief silence shows patience and respect. Another common mistake is turning every topic into a story about yourself. Imagine someone shares a problem and you immediately respond with, "Oh, that reminds me of when I..." While you might intend to relate, it often shifts the spotlight away from them and onto you. True connection doesn't come from matching stories. It comes from shared emotions. Instead of redirecting the conversation, try validating theirs first. Say, "That must have been tough," or "I can see why you'd feel that way." Let them feel heard before you share your own experience. Then there's the habit of bragging, whether directly or subtly. Some people don't even realize they're doing it. They just want to highlight their achievements or prove credibility. But constant self-promotion feels heavy and exhausting to others. It creates competition instead of connection. Confidence is quiet. Insecurity is loud. People naturally gravitate toward those who let their actions speak for them, not their words. Sarcasm and ridicule are also communication killers. While humor can bring people together, sarcasm often hides criticism or contempt. What one person thinks is just a joke might sting deeply for someone else. The rule is simple. If your joke puts someone down, even lightly, it's not funny, it's hurtful. Respectful humor lifts people. Toxic humor makes them guard themselves around you. A subtler but equally damaging habit is talking like a teacher instead of a friend, always giving advice, correcting others, or explaining things they didn't ask for. This know-it-all tone can make people feel small even when your intentions are good. Instead of instructing, try suggesting. Swap "you should" for "have you ever thought about?" This keeps the conversation open and collaborative rather than authoritative. Lastly, perhaps the most damaging habit is talking without empathy, focusing solely on your message without considering the listener's feelings. Words have emotional weight. A single careless comment can linger in someone's mind for years. Empathy means asking yourself before speaking, how might this sound to them? When you speak with that awareness, your tone naturally softens, and your presence becomes comforting instead of intimidating. Avoiding these mistakes doesn't mean you have to walk on eggshells or suppress your personality. It simply means being conscious, aware of how your words affect others. Good communication is not about impressing people. It's about connecting with them. When you remove the ego-driven habits of interrupting, boasting, correcting, or mocking, you make space for sincerity. In the end, people may not remember your exact words, but they'll always remember how they felt after talking to you. Speak with respect, listen with patience, and act with empathy, and you'll never have to worry about being disliked again. Speaking in a way that avoids being disliked, even in difficult situations, is one of the most valuable communication skills a person can master. It's easy to sound pleasant when everything is going well, when people agree with you, when emotions are calm, and when no one feels challenged. But the real test of character is how you speak when things get tense. The ability to remain kind, composed, and clear under pressure can turn potential conflict into connection. The first rule of speaking in tough situations is emotional control. When someone criticizes or provokes you, your instinct might be to defend yourself, argue, or strike back. But reacting impulsively only escalates the situation. Instead, take a breath. Silence, even for a few seconds, is your greatest ally. It gives you space to think and prevents emotions from hijacking your tone. A calm voice has far more influence than an angry one. When you respond with steadiness, you send a signal of maturity and confidence that commands respect. A powerful way to diffuse tension is by asking questions rather than making accusations. For example, instead of saying, "You're wrong about that," you might say, "That's interesting. What makes you think so?" This approach shifts the conversation from confrontation to exploration. It shows that you're open to understanding, not attacking. People rarely stay defensive when they feel heard. Remember, curiosity disarms conflict. Another key is choosing positive language even when discussing negative topics. Words like problem or mistake can be replaced with challenge or opportunity to improve. Such small changes in phrasing influence how others perceive your intent. Instead of saying, "You did this wrong," say, "Let's see how we can make this better." The goal isn't to sugarcoat reality, but to frame it constructively. When your words focus on solutions instead of blame, people listen instead of resist. Sometimes, the smartest thing to say is nothing at all. Strategic silence gives others time to process emotions, and it gives you the upper hand in emotional intelligence. You don't have to respond to every accusation or negative comment. Responding to everything often means lowering yourself to the emotional level of the other person. Silence, when calm and confident, communicates strength and composure far more than words can. It's also important to know when to end a conversation gracefully. If someone insists on being rude or argumentative, continuing to engage won't help. You can say, "I think we both need a moment to cool down," or "Let's revisit this when we're both calmer." Ending on a note of dignity preserves your peace and shows that you value mutual respect more than winning, a highly underrated skill in difficult conversations is using empathy as a shield. When someone lashes out, remember that anger often hides fear, stress, or insecurity. Instead of matching their intensity, lower yours. Speak slower, softer, and with measured pauses. Phrases like, "I can see this really matters to you," or "I get why you'd feel that way," can soften even the hardest hearts. You're not agreeing. You're acknowledging. That distinction changes everything. Finally, remember that how you end a difficult conversation determines how it will be remembered. Leave people with respect, not resentment. A calm, kind farewell, even after disagreement, leaves the door open for future understanding. The secret to speaking without being hated is not about pleasing everyone or avoiding honesty. It's about maintaining dignity, empathy, and composure no matter how others behave. When you master the art of calm and respectful speech in chaos, you earn something rare: trust. And people trust those who can stay kind even when the world isn't. Finally, remember, how you speak matters more than what you say. A truly wise person isn't the one who talks the most, but the one who speaks at the right time, in the right way, and with the right emotion. If you want to be loved, respected, and never misunderstood, start learning how to talk so others feel understood, not judged. Comment below. I'll speak smarter every day. to commit to becoming your best self. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because I'll be sharing more communication, confidence, and self-growth secrets that will help you become the most magnetic version of yourself. See you in the next video, where we'll learn how to speak less, but be heard by everyone.